So after the Civil War, most slaves were freed and now able to earn an income for their work. But historians say that their former plantation owners didn't want them working on nearby plantations. And that's where legal experts say that non-compete laws started in America.
How can I, your hiring entity, control you after you leave me? How can I get you to give me something for nothing?
Matthew Leffler, also known as the armchair attorney, on what he says is the root to non-compete laws which date back to slavery.
You can go sell your labor, but nowhere near here. You can't go live in the same place and work for someone who's different than me. You have to work for me. And if you leave, if you don't want to work for me, you're going to have to move. And so we see this influx of people moving to different cities, different states, to an extent to escape the pervasiveness of what the South was like post-Civil War, but also because they were not legally allowed to work anywhere else.
Fast forward to today, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce disagrees with the ban and has since sued the FTC. The chamber is joined by several large corporations and Republican commissioners like Andrew Ferguson in voting against the ban. Ferguson issuing this oral statement saying the FTC does not have the power to nullify millions of existing contracts. But the director of public affairs at the FTC says they do.
We expect that when non-competes are banned, we'll see about 8,500 new businesses formed each year. We'll see $525 back in the pockets of almost every average working American, and we'll probably see close to 30,000 new patents filed.
However, due to all the legal challenges, it's uncertain when or if this ban will happen. In Washington, Ashanti Ford.
And Ashanti Ford joins us now. Ashanti, we've been covering how the FTC and members of Congress have been pushing back against these non-competes. But just as we heard in that story, this originates from slavery. Where did this start?
That's correct, Rashida. And you know, it's interesting. This is an underreported topic. So I had to do a lot of digging. I had to do a lot of interviewing to come up with this. But what we found based on historians and legal experts is that after the Civil War, most slaves were freed, right? And then now they're able to work for an income. However, according to historians, their former plantation owners, they didn't want them working for plantations nearby. They didn't want them working for the competition. And so many of them, according to legal experts, had to move, not simply because they wanted to, but really because they had to so that they can earn a living.
And we know as journalists, this impacts a lot of people. For journalists, that's one of the professions that is sometimes impacted in local journalism. What are some of the other professions that are impacted by those non-compete laws?
Good question, Rashida, and you're absolutely correct. We do see a lot of non-competes in the news industry, but really non-compete contracts, they impact over 30 million Americans. We see non-compete contracts throughout all sectors of the workforce. But what I can say, especially, in the beginning of non-competes, what we were seeing is a lot of the marginalized communities were the ones that were mostly affected by this.
Yeah, you talked about how it dates back decades ago, all the way to slavery. Why now? Why is the FTC now cracking down on these non-compete laws?
Well, you know, a lot of things are about numbers, right? And for the FTC, they feel like, banning non-compete laws would be better for the economy. They feel we'll see, upwards of 30,000 new business patents. They feel like it will just give people more opportunities in America. And, the root of this is America is the place that you can move for opportunity. And so overall, the FTC believes that banning these non-competes would really give people that American dream.
Yeah, we mentioned that this ban went into effect, or at least that law was signed into effect back in April. What comes next? When does it actually go into effect?
So as you heard in the story, this is not something that big corporations want. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Rashida, is actually in the process of suing the FTC over this, saying that, it's unconstitutional. They don't have the right to do it. And then in terms of the big corporations, they kind of feel like banning non-competes wouldn't allow them to protect their investments. So there's going to be a lot of pushback here, Rashida. And if this actually goes through, we may not see this for years to come.
It's certainly a topic I know you're going to continue to follow. Ashanti Ford, thanks so much for joining us on Amplified.